Windows Server 2019 System Administration. Welcome back everybody. I'm Prakash Pradhan, your trainer for this entire series. So in today's topic, we're going to talk about the File Server Resource Manager. Over here in File Server Resource Manager, there are two most important roles actually. Or the services that's been offered. Role is the one, but two services are offered very much important to work as a system administrator. Number one, your file resource management. Under this control, what we have a screening option. That means when we share a folder over the network, okay, now what happens now, clients are going to store their documents. It may be your office related or it may be their personal document. That means their video and audio file actually. So if you start sharing a folder over the network and the clients are going to bring their personal documents or they are going to download the movies and store over there, obviously hard disk is going to be out of space. So in that case, we have a screening option over here. Thanks to Microsoft, they have launched over here. It was started since with Server 2008. Now over here, what we can do, we can simply screen a file. That means if there is any file having the audio and video extension, let's say for example, that means audio, video or image file that will not be allowed to store. That means it saves their space if you are in need of that. Okay, and the next one is the quota. Of course, everybody knows the quota, but I'm not going to talk about the quota on the drive base. So this over here, File Server Resource Manager, there is another one feature, quota, but this quota is your folder base. That means if you see the older version again Server 2003, the quota option was only the drive base. That was not the folder base. Okay, like example, in a C drive, you share one common folder. Inside there are so many clients. So in individual basis, you can see the quota actually. So this quota is not on the drive base. I repeat again, this quota is on folder basis. So without wasting your much precious time, so let's jump up how to use the File Server Resource Manager. So by default, your File Server Resource Manager is not installed in Server Family Operating System. So you are going to install it first. Okay. Now in order to save your time, this work I've already done, but only the configuration is left. So I'll show you how to install first your step. I mean to say how to install the steps for installing your File Server Resource Manager. Okay, add a role. Okay, it's a role base. Next, of course, it's a domain and my IP. Now over here, if you see under the file and storage service, expand the file and iSCSI, you see over here, File Server Resource Manager. You just tick it and next your work is done. Okay, I thought of saving your time, so that's why I pre-installed this. Trust me, no configuration is done. Now, in order to do the configuration, I'm going to share one folder. Let's say I want to share one folder to my client in order to see the practical implementation of this File Server Resource Manager. So I'm going to share one folder. Let's say the name of folder I'm going to give, let's say screen and quota. Okay, now I'm going to share it for one user that I have created as my object. So that one is the new that is the test. Okay, there is one user called test. So I'm going to give this user this folder full permission. Okay, full permission. Now see, if you have a look from this PC, that user has a full permission on that folder. Okay, screen and quota. Now if I create new document, fine. If I create new bitmap image, fine. If I copy audio or video file, fine. It should allow me to store without any hurdle. See, it should come on. Okay, done. Fantastic. Now we are going to set two things within this folder. Number one, I do not want my staff to store the image file. Number one. Number two, I do not want my clients to store their audio and video files so that it saves my file server's hard disk space. So that setting will be done from the File Server Resource Manager. That is over here. So after installing the File Server Resource Manager role, you'll have to configure from here Tool and File Server Resource Manager. I hope I'm not going fast. So now there are two things. See, number one is quota. Number two is screening. Of course, we do have all other things that we'll be discussing in our upcoming videos. But right now, these topics are very much mandatory to use in order to work as a system administrator. I'm going to set the quota now. Okay, I'm going to create a new quota. If you see, there are so many quota templates. These all are the predefined. But sometimes it seems like the quota that you're trying to design is not over here. So you'd like to create your own. Okay, so I'm going to create my own quota over here. On which folder? The folder which I have shared just now to the client. Okay, screen and quota. So what amount of space would you like to give? See, the Microsoft has given you option to choose within this pre-created quota, or you can customize also. That's a good option over here. Okay, now we are going to write what amount do you want? Let's say 10 KB, not more than 10 KB. Okay, 10 KB, or let's say MB, otherwise, okay, 10 MB. And there are two options to set the quota. One is the hard quota, second one is the soft quota. Hard quota means fixed. You will not be allowed to use apart from 10 MB, even a 1 kilobyte. But if I do the soft quota, I mean to say, instead of, rather than having, okay, in spite of having, I mean to say, in spite of having 10 MB space, trust me, it will allow you to store more. Though the limitation is set, okay, it depends upon certain these circumstances, okay, certain situation. But right now I want to show hard quota. It will not allow me to store any data if it exceeds the space limitation of 10 MB. That's fine. I'm going to add it. Okay, if it gives error, no problem, it's done already. I'm going to add it again. So I'm going to make it a 10 MB. Okay, hard quota. And okay, we'll edit. Okay, it's done. Let's give the template name. Let's say my new quota 1. Let's say my new quota 1. Then I'll edit it. Don't forget. Okay, 100 MB is there. I'll edit it. Don't worry. We can edit easily. Okay, we'll make it 10 MB. Done. Say 10 MB quota. Okay, now if that client, okay, access a folder where the previously that client was able to store any amount of file in this shared location folder, you see the size of this document is quite huge. See, so video file. Okay, let's see, it's 226 MB. Okay, now let's see once more. This one is this one. It's quite huge in size. Okay, but now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy this file and drag it here. What will happen? See now, replace it. Okay, it's the same file. Now if I change it, the name of this file, let's say this one, okay, drag it, see what it says. There is not enough space. Why? Because the quota I have set is only 10 MB, not more than that. But what about the other document that was pre-created? That's why pre-created document, stored document will not be calculated because the policy was set later. This folder already contained this document, so that's why it is doing. Now if you want to store any document, any file, okay, it will not allow you if it exceeds the limit. See now, 26 MB is needed to copy, but our quota is only 20 MB. So let's see if I take a data that size is less than a 20 MB or equivalent to the 20 MB. So let's see, this is 12 MB. So let's drag it now. Let's see. There is no space. See, already exceeded. There is no space only. So let's see, create one small size of file. There is no enough space. Let's see practically implementing editing this option so that your client can store the document, so that you'll be convinced, yes, it works. So I'm going to make it GB. I hope 10 GB is more than enough. So now client will be allowed to copy over there since the size has been extended. So let's see that I'm in workstation. Okay, that means my client machine. Okay, this is my folder, this is my data, and this is fantastic. Done, you see. So it saves your time actually. And if we can't tell all the stuff, you know, there is a limit in a hard disk is about to be over. Please don't bring your document, don't store a video, audio, all these things. You cannot do that. So that's why this is screening option in a quota. I mean to say this quota option is the best option now. So the now next thing that we're going to see, the screening. That means certain type of file will be prohibited in storing in your server. Okay, let's see that now. So this is my folder. That means I mean to say this is my drive. So let's go to my primary domain controller. I'm over here. Okay, so let's do it. It's loading, just a second. Okay, server manager. Now I'm going to set screening now. Okay, now we're going to screen. That means the video are not going to be allowed to store anymore here. If you see file screen, it's empty. If you see the quota, it's done. How much? 10 GB. Now I'm going to create the screen. Similar to the quota, there are predefined template for the your screens also. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one screening now here. Okay, file screen, create new screen, choose the path. Okay, choose the path. That will be the same path, this one. Which video or which type of file you'd like to block over here? Audio, video. Okay, done. Create it. Now you see previously your file was stored over there after extending the size of your disk quota. But right now in that folder, apart from the quota, screening is also set. That means audio, video will not be allowed. So if I go back to my client machine, okay, and I intend to store the data, okay, having your video or audio file, then you see the consequence. What's going to be happen now? Quota, this is the same folder. You see previously video was stored because that was the previous one. If I bring it this file here, what it says, replace, okay, because that name file is already there. Now what it says, you need permission to perform this task, and our work is done. That means now the video file will not be stored. Though we have a capacity of 10 GB or more than that you can change it, but the video and audio file will not be allowed. If I now try to copy a file that's having the huge in size, let's say it's 12 MB, okay, now if I drag it over here, it will allow. See, it's done. But that video will not be allowed. Why? Because you have done the screening. Okay, so these two features that we are having under the role, these are the most important feature to work as a system administrator in any server network infrastructure. It will allow you to create a quota, and it will also allow you to screening a file. Okay, so I hope this video was bit informative and you added something to your knowledge that you are going to bring in practical implementation in your server environment. Okay, if you like this video, if you think it was quite fruitful, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.